Have y'all seen the list? Wait, why can't I type there? Media personalities, hip hop. Hip hop. Oh, here we go. The hip hop media power rankings. Now, I want to, number one, point out a few things because there was a lot of salt from a lot of people who felt like maybe their ranking wasn't appropriate. Now, I know, I always say the media is a thankless sport. Being a journalist or a blog site or platform is usually a thankless sport. You get berated, you get chastised, you get cussed out if you don't, if you don't rank somebody's album high enough, if you didn't report a story all the way factual. But when you do report it factual, nobody says, oh my God, great job. That's what you're supposed to do. It's a thankless sport. You really have to look for the accolades when you're in media. It's usually reflected, if you ask me, in the amount of people who fuck with you, right? So your audience, and hopefully your paycheck. But you're never going to get the kudos and thanks for you issuing discretion like, oh shit, let me not do this, or let me do this, or let me show this, or let me not show this. But if you fuck up, everybody's on your ass. So it's a thankless sport. Now, because there's usually not lists or awards for these, and actually there are awards, but this felt more socially relevant. A lot of these motherfuckers on this list felt like this was a career achievement award list. I seen some people salty with me. Oh my God, I've done this. Nigga, it doesn't matter what you did, nigga. It's called a power ranking. If you don't know what a power ranking is, go look at football. Power ranking usually means it goes week by week. What have you done for me lately? What have you done for me in the last couple weeks, the last couple months, maybe the last year? So I see some people on this list and they seem very disgruntled. And also, it's the only way I can explain this list without y'all coming in with so much baggage of, oh my God, how could Nordwar not be at number one? Relax, buddy. This isn't about the career achievements. Let's say 2 months, let's say the last year. If you can't remember nothing that these niggas did for the last year, they're probably not widening out on the list. Also, I gotta keep adding some caveats. By the way, I haven't seen the criteria. I don't even know. They didn't hit me up to ask me. I'm just giving what I would think. It's called a power ranking. Some people would say, well, this person was a journalist and he writes and he fact checks and these other niggas gossip. It doesn't matter what you fucking think. I don't care what you do. If you're in hip hop media, it's about the power ranking. So let us begin. It's a nice little collage they got going on here. Yo, why they use this picture of my man Funk Flex? They got him looking like, come on now. They got my boy Funk Master Flex looking zesty right here. Like, why they play with my boy Funk Flex, man? What's going on? By the way, what you're gonna notice too, Carisha, which is Young Miami, Kai Cenat, which some people might not instantly associate with hip hop media, they're also considered. You could say, nah, that should be or that shouldn't be. That's up to you. Anyway, let us start. By the way, let's read some of this. It wasn't that long ago that hip-hop media could be separated into two distinct buckets. And one buckets were the journalists, the magazine writers, bloggers, and cultural critics who wrote for publications like The Source, XXL, and eventually All Hip Hop Now Right. And yes, Complex. The journalists were opinionated, sometimes critical, but rarely seen or heard. Okay? I remember, most famously, we're at Everyday Struggle, and in the hallway, Joe Budden runs up on a writer who has been a little bit critical of him about certain things. His name was Edwin Diaz. Nobody knew how the guy looked, but people knew the name, the tagline, and people knew the list or whatever he would make. So basically, they're saying journalists was rarely seen or heard, but you obviously saw their articles. Then another bucket were personalities, a lineage of on-air personalities from Fab Five Freddy and D Barnes to Ed Lover, and of course, Big Tigger, who were paid to be congenial insiders, but not to express their opinions. Hip-hop media was once a relatively small industry serving one primary function: to promote hip-hop. Over the last decade, the landscape has changed dramatically, okay? The distinction between journalists and personalities has blurred. I agree with that. So, too, has the difference between journalism and entertainment. I agree with that, too. As hip-hop has evolved into mainstream culture, rap media has exploded. So much so that the people who cover music can generate more money and interest than the musicians themselves. To sort through this new glut of hip-hop media personality complex has curated its inaugural hip-hop media power rankings. I think when it says inaugural, I think it's kind of hinting towards maybe once a year. What does inaugural mean? I feel like, or maybe it means unofficial. That means unofficial, right? Or the beginning. Oh, it's the beginning. Okay. I'm not sure how often they're going to update it, but okay. What constitutes power in hip-hop? Good. Now they're going to define it. The power to book the biggest players in rap and extract meaningful dialogue from them, or to make appealing content of unknown emergent talent or forgotten has-beens. I feel like this is the Vlad category right here. He'll take a new nigga, or he takes somebody who fell off and he'll flip it into 25 parts. The power to make news by simply expressing your opinion. I think that's me. The power to not only draw the ear of a general audience, but the ears of music industry, so much so your words can affect the business. And lastly, the power to turn your passion for hip-hop and content into a multi-million-dollar empire. The rise of the media personality in hip-hop is due to both overarching media trends and reasons, reasons unique to rap, the proliferation of blah, blah. Okay, we're not going to read everything. Somebody says the familiar Warren Pundit debate format pioneered by shows like CNN Crossfire and ESPN First Take was co-opted in rap as in Complex's everyday struggle. Let's not discount these three factors: growing number of rappers either aging out of their recording primes or seeking new revenue streams, and two, the mid-2010 era of SoundCloud rap, which provided clear inflection point between old rap and new rap and endless fodder for debate. Number three, the adaptive ingenuity and hyper-competitive nature of the genre, which lends itself not only to competitive disagreements on rap topics, but also fierce competition between rap personalities. Before we begin the countdown, and before we begin arguing, here's some FAQ on the methodology, right? This is important to read. As this is a ranking, people, not platforms or shows. So they're not ranking platforms or shows, they're just ranking people. We specifically focus on individuals who are public-facing personalities. That's why you won't find outlets like Say Cheese or the Shade Room on the list, but you'll see Nori, but not the show Drink Champs. That makes sense. Where's Speedy and B-Dot? To remove any potential for bias, we excluded personalities who are currently attached to complex programming. How did you rank them? We put names in a hat, drew them out one by one. Just kidding. And he said we use a scoring method based on 5 categories: commentary and banter, star of power guests, consistency, viral moments, integrity of content. Then we debated the list like hell before reaching a consensus on the ranking you see here. Okay, but how come this legendary DJ is far below a newbie Twitch streamer? We engineered the list to be a ranking of the right now. That's the thing, right now, which means current relevance and influence supersedes legacy and longevity. Why are you including people who have been accused of abuse, misconduct, or sexual group? What the fuck? Nigga, what the like, how this fucking question, who's asking this shit? We rank personalities based off their content. Who the hell is accused of these things? So who's number one? You have to read on and see. All right, come on. So let's start. Number 25. This is Jazzy, okay? If you guys don't know who this is, I actually met her at I'm Rolling Loud. She's a very young content creator who's kind of known for interviewing a bunch of people. I believe she interviewed Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, Jay-Z. And she asked some pretty dope questions. I've only seen a couple clips of her interviews, but she's an up and coming personality. Um, I'm glad to see someone who is, I don't know how old she is, but she's 12-year old. I'm glad to see someone who has a passion. And I've always told y'all, one of my only regrets is that, I started kind of doing what I was doing to get to this path at like 18, 19. I really had wished I'd started at like 14, right? But, time is undefeated. Okay. Then Nyla Simone. Not too sure who she is. I think she's, I see her, I believe on Brilliant Idiots. Okay. Congrats to her. Congrats to her. Sway. And I think this is where people would start getting offended. Because Sway's a legend. And, with any list that would have somebody like Sway on it, and Sway, because in reality, when it comes to hip hop journalists of all time, Sway really is like top 5. You know what I mean? Like of all time, like Sway is top 5 easily. So that's why some people who didn't read the criteria to say, hey, this is a power ranking, not like a life like achievement award or whatever. But salute to my boy Sway. Sway's really amazing. By the way, speaking of lists, I remember being a kid watching Sway and his cohorts come up with the list for, remember when they used to do the top 10 rappers, like hottest MCs? Yeah, he used to be like the guy who did that, right? All right. Nardwuar, which again, people are going to be upset about because Nardwuar is a legendary, and I'm going to say journalist. He's a journalist who, to be honest, I think his research is unmatched, is second to none. He is someone who has just always wowed and amazed not only the interviewer, but also the audience with the questions and how far back he could draw things from, the parallels he could bring stuff, and his just overall knowledge. His unique style, I think he's amazing, okay? Overall, I think he is definitely on the all-time goated list, but they put him at 22 for the power ranking now. Remember, I gotta tell you, this is power ranking now. Now we got this hater over here, Anthony Fantano. This is the reason why this nigga been mad at me. I don't know what I did to him, but this motherfucking hater over here, when you pass niggas like this, you know what I mean? I hit 180 when I passed this nigga. There was a time I felt like me and him was like in the same realm. I left that bum in the dust. He been changing his tire ever since, okay? Lapped him 15 times. Yeah, he's a review dude, okay? He's, pretty much established as a review dude, and he's always been, he's been, whether you like his reviews or not, I think he's did his own plight to get his reviews into the lexicon of reviews that people care about. People always talk about Double XL reviews, the Source back in the day reviews. Obviously, they talk about Pitchfork these days and Rolling Stones, but you definitely got to think about Fantano because he does affect review that type of way. All right, Nadeska. There's our beautiful queen. Nadeska, I believe, is the epitome of hard work. She was an amazing talent. I had the luxury of sitting next to and working with for many years. Someone who helped and taught me a lot. Someone who, really bridged the gap not only between artists and also media, but she bridged the gap between just fully salaciousness and bullshit and also like some true journalism. So I always gave her credit, working alongside Nadeska, seeing her in the morning, at least when we had the first studio, she had to do her makeup by herself before the lights even really came on. Do her makeup herself, get all the topics right. And I've seen if she pronounced the name wrong or if she got one thing that was inaccurate, she was really hard on herself because she prided herself on always getting the information right, giving everybody the proper respect that they are due. And also, even before me and her even worked on a show, like she was putting in the groundwork, and obviously I know we're talking about power rankings. So, but I just want to touch on her career a little bit. Shit, I remember me and her, we had started beefing before we ever did the show because she went to OVO Fest. She said she was staying in some shitty whatever and was just like out there hustling for content. She posted the shit. That's what I'm building Akademiks, nigga. I just took her content, nigga. Like, fuck. No credit, no nothing. Big Ak is here, nigga. Fuck it. We started beefing over that, but all was well. Now she does, I think and me and her, we talked about this a lot during her transition period from Complex. She does the Nadeska show on Apple Music. She helps build and organize certain playlists, and I think she's an integral form. She's an integral part of what I believe is hip hop, a hip hop like what I would say. I think she's the next female Carl Cherry. I'm gonna be honest. If you think about Carl Cherry, Tuma, I think she's up there. I think she is fair. She's in with the new, very respecting of the old. She's just amazing. So I just want to give her credit. I enjoyed every second I worked with her, and me and her, we really grew to be really close, and I still value that to this day. All right, 19. This would be a troll if they put Adam at 16. I would have said, I'm done with Complex. They're trying to play my boy. But anyway, they got Adam at 19. And let me see what they're saying. Wow. Oh, okay. See, this I don't like Complex. I don't like y'all did this. If y'all talking about is like, ability to be a media personality, why do y'all do this? No Jumper isn't picky, and he's been eager to put microphone in front of any aspiring rapper with a modicum of IG clout. The ambulance chasing mentality, it feels like a diss, right? Has built his empire and created many viral moments, but it also feels like a cynical exercise in feeding the lowest common denominator. That stench has been exacerbated when you consider his long list of misconduct allegations, questionable comments, and most recently his public falling out with several No Jumper hosts. With his recent heel turn towards edgelord commentary, right, as in the long debate with the debate show with neo-Nazi Richard Spencer, and aspiring porn stardom, no links here, buddy, Adam 22 and No Jumper's relevance in hip-hop media may be in permanent decline. Wow. That was a scathing review. This is interesting because I've always said this. Even though I know this is like fuck Adam moment right now, but I still think No Jumper is a very potent platform. It's carved out a portion in just entertainment that no one's gonna fill that gap, and I still think there's eyes that care for that type of shit. I've always said that Adam prioritized building a platform than being a personality. And him being on this list, I think he definitely deserves to be on the list. But I could understand why he's not like a top 10. 19, I got to see who else is on the list. But I will say this now. If we were going over top platforms in hip-hop, if No Jumper ain't top 10, or probably top 5, you're tweaking. You get what I mean? But this is just personality-wise, and this is just at Adam. I think Adam's, I don't know if his heart currently is just in culture, and I think the porn stuff kind of like dilutes how people look at him, but it is what it is. Okay, cool. Big Boy, number 18. Again, it's going to make people upset because he's legendary. Big Boy always gets like those. Every time I Google like a Kendrick Lamar interview or a 50 Cent interview, there's always one there. Like, you know what I mean? I grew up watching interviews by Big Boy. I think he's just a fucking veteran at this whole thing. I remember when he switched stations not too long ago, like a couple years ago, or maybe it was like 10 years ago. I don't even know how long it was. But I got to say that, 18. I can see it. They got my man Jinx on here. Salute my boy Jinx. Jinx is the ultimate hustler, man. Like this guy. Let me tell you this. If you got a team, and hopefully you don't find this disrespectful, but I'm going to name like what type of player he is. You name the player. I'm going to describe the attributes. Jinx is somebody that's important to any organization because, number one, he has a little bit of cool, smooth, suave type. So he's square enough where he could just read it off teleprompter, but he's cool enough where he could give his opinion, right? And not seem corny. Also, he fits every single role. Like, I feel like if you have any show, he could fit a role on any show. So he's the player that plays every position, right? He might not be the most controversial or trying to have his voice be the most like out of the woods, but this is like a guy. I think if I'm building a championship roster of media personalities, you need a Jinx. Jinx he's a balance when needed. He's a balance to so like if me and him did a show, I think he'd be a good balance to me in certain senses. I think also he's a perfect medium in between two opposing voices. I think he's a voice of reason. I really like him as a media personality or just a personality at all or journalist. Okay, 16, Peter Rosenberg. Now, I'm going to disagree with this guy being, if Adam is 19, ain't no way this nigga's 16. Like, come on now. I get it. Adam is fucking 10 bitches a day. And yeah, Adam's like, No Jumper been like, you know what I mean? Like a programming on Zeus for the last, but let me start off by being nice and also being fair. Peter Rosenberg, what I believe, he is a staunch advocate and a quintessential personality for a particular type of rap that honestly is underrepresented in the culture today. Backpack rap, boom bap rap, like he goes hard for a lot of underrepresented genres or styles of music, which I think is very important. Yeah, I'm just trying to leave it as something nice and positive. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. Let me leave it there. All right, 15, Full Master Flex. I think this is deserving. Let me tell you this. We all grew up on Flex. We all grew up on Flex, man. And I'm going to tell you another thing about Flex that, why we got to love it. I remember going like 8 o'clock on a Friday and Flex is ready for the weekend, but he also got something to say or he got something to premiere. And Flex was one of the people, at least in like American culture, that told me like as a DJ, you shouldn't be the guy pressing buttons quiet, just shouting out your drop. You could say something. You could have an opinion. And I always liked Flex for that, whether I agree with him or not. He was hella entertaining whether the music was on or off, and that's hard for a DJ to do. Flex, to me, when you see even me go on certain rants, I think there is some influence from a Funk Flex. I kid you not. I just don't drop the bomb. But Flex is one of those, man. Like, I used to download his rants. I mean, from him ranting at artists. If you ever heard the Jay-Z rant when he said Jay-Z texted him in all caps and says, "This is Hove," and he went crazy. To when he's dissing, Power 105 or The Breakfast Club or whatever the case, Charlemagne. Shit, the nigga is very entertaining, and I still think to this day he's one of the only people that I think I would tune in because he's on the helm at the radio. Other than that, if usually when I hear radio shit, I just plug my phone and then play shit. But if it's Flex could still get me to tune into a radio. That's hard to do. Flex could get me to tune into the radio. If Flex says 7 o'clock tonight, be there. If I'm driving at 7 o'clock, I only listen to radio in the car. But if I'm driving at 7 o'clock, I'm going to go listen to what this nigga going to say. So, salute to him. Angela Yee. Angela Yee, I think, is a very interesting case because Angela Yee, obviously part of the Breakfast Club. She has a podcast that's very influential in the female space with kind of like getting interesting dialogue and dialect out of people. But she just left the Breakfast Club and people are trying to see what's the new thing for her. I don't know. I don't know about this ranking, honestly. I don't know about this ranking. I've been on a wait and see with Angela Yee. Because, and I'm being very honest here, and I hope if she sees this, she doesn't think I'm being disrespectful at all. This is the moment we're going to find out if Angela Yee is a system player or she's a fucking star. Now, granted, she's had her solo shows and she had things she led in the past. But her new show, To make moments, she's probably 20 years in the game at this point. Probably more. To make new moments at this point, she's going to have to, she's going to have to do a few things. And I'm waiting to see how it's going to turn out. One thing I'll say about Angela Yee, because she's a little bit like Nadeska, except, obviously there's an edge towards her because, she deals with advice and like a lot of sexual stuff when it comes to women. I've always said when I listen to Angela Yee, like, I'll be listening to Angela Yee and I know nothing about Angela Yee. Like, I be thinking Angela Yee is like the Fabulous of music. I've been listening to Fabulous music and I know nothing about him. Sounds good though. Like, I love it. The music sounds great. Like, I like listening to Angela Yee, but I've never, like, Angela Yee will ask a motherfucker about how he like his ass licked, how she likes to suck toes, and I never heard her say one weird thing that she might do. And I'm like, that's a skill too. Like, don't snitch on yourself. Have them snitch on themselves. But do I think she has the ability to do it? Shit, she was on the Breakfast Club holding down two of the most ratchet niggas for 10 years. Maybe those are the moments I'm expecting, or expecting some off the rails moments, but we'll see what moments she could do. Right? Ebro. You got Ebro at number 13. I'm not gonna say no. The reason I'm not gonna say no is like, well, first and foremost, here's the thing. I think Ebro's a good radio personality. And by the way, all biasness, all like, the nigga don't like me for whatever reason. I don't know. I know why he don't like me. The nigga don't like me because you see these older dudes, when you didn't come up sucking a dick and you just pop out and you just say you're big act, like, they don't like that shit. You feel me? Like, they be in a room, they like that nigga eating a banana and belly or whatever that shit was. Like, they just like, I don't like that shit. I'm gonna drop a dime on that nigga. Exactly, right? So he just never liked me for whatever reason. But to be honest, he's a decent media personality. I think he's very level-headed, very business-minded. I've always admired that about him. He is business-minded, and I think he tried to connect that to culture. Also, he has a culture outlook that I might disagree with. Like, remember, he notoriously said that Uzi may not be around in a couple years. I think he's been wrong on those things, but I'm not going to lie. I like the fact that he's not scared of saying a take. That's the thing about all these personalities. Like, some people are just scared to give an opinion. And here's the thing. You know why they're scared? Because they don't know how to deal with if they're wrong. Shit, I think Ebro would just probably admit it. He was wrong, and what? I've been wrong about mad shit I've said, but fuck it. If you're wrong, and what? So I think 13 is appropriate. Also, I gotta remind people that he's the global editorial head of hip hop. So when he talks, he literally has the power to change music on the entire Apple Music landscape. So he's powerful. Okay. One thing the only critique I'll give to him is, like, I feel like he didn't embrace podcasting, and in a roundabout way, he's now on Apple doing a podcast. So at first he was shitting on podcasts, saying, yeah, podcast. And then now he's on Apple just doing a podcast. If he had dug in there a little bit or embraced it a little bit more, but that's his personality. He doesn't embrace the new. And you got to be aware of niggas like that. Niggas who don't embrace the new until they're forced to. We'll see. Angie Martinez. Angie Martinez is the number one home, I believe, for grown woman talk. She's the Oprah of hip hop. Like, with all due respect to any woman who was on the list, including, my sister, Nadeska, I believe if you're a Ashanti, a Lauren London, and you want to go have that grown woman, I'm a mother, I'm past my 20s talk, and the grown woman conversation, you go to Angie. It's clearly Angie. Angie kind of comes off like an auntie to, I remember the interview she did with Pop Smoke. It was very loving. You know what I mean? I think Angie's just I don't see any woman that gives off that type of vibe, that gives off that, yo, I'm the cool aunt. I'm not judging you, but I'm also kind of trying to steer you the right way. She's the only woman in hip hop that got that spot. She's warm, welcoming. She's not asking got you questions. She don't need those moments. And actually, it makes you wanna reveal more. Like she's very unique spot. And by the way, she still gets a pretty good amount of very relevant interviews. And she's definitely just a legend. Has been in this shit for a really fucking long time. Okay? All right. Jason Lee. Gotta give credit to this motherfucker here. Gotta give credit to. Now, I think the only conversation that would be had is how much hip hop is he, right? Because he's definitely urban. But if we were gonna have a conversation about the top 20, I don't know what realm we could call that in, but he focuses on more on like that shade room type of stuff. Like he'd be on a list with like Tasha K and them. I think he's really up there too. I think him being at 11 doesn't kind of show how important he is, but I think the only reason why he's at 11 is simply because they're trying to make it like, oh, hip hop. But he has a huge platform, Hollywood Unlocked, right? Not only does he have a huge platform, very opinionated, shit. Like, in that world, like the shade room gossip world, our boy is probably top 3. I guess they just put him on the hip hop list because he's a face. There's a face to Hollywood Unlocking as him. But, we've seen him with Floyd. We've seen him do interviews with Kanye West. Clearly him and Rihanna, mad cool. Rihanna gave him the picture of her baby to show for the first time, which, hey, my boy, he be doing his thing. He be doing his thing. You get what I mean? Math Hoffa. That was very interesting. I think that was a quick rise to top 10 for Math Hoffa. One thing I'd say is that Math Hoffa's podcast has been on fire. It's probably the breakout podcast, if we're going to talk about this podcast, of the last like 6 to 10 months. But also, what I will say about Math Hoffa, like, he gives his opinion. He not one of them question asking niggas. He one of them, this is what I think about this, so what you think about what I thought and what happened. You got to give that boy his credit. I give him his credit. Also, I do think he's in an interesting spot. Success has took a shot at him. And Success is taking a shot at him because, he had an interesting podcast format. Like, they do in the barbershop. There's like 10 niggas around there. I didn't know all 10 of them niggas were hosts. I think like half of them left. And people are defecting, but in reality, Math is the face. So Math is going to continually have to make those moments or I feel like, and I'm not trying to little nigga him at all, the realm he's kind of getting into or not getting into, but you have $1 million worth of game and under that lane is Math Hoffa. So that is like one lane that $1 million worth of game, Math Hoffa right here, my expert opinion right here. They're in the same lane. You get what I mean? So salute to him. Yeah. Number 10. All right, I see it. This is a good ranking too for him because shit, I think maybe a year or two ago, you wouldn't probably consider him for this list, but he's definitely on it. Vlad. Good old Vlad, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. Vlad's always been like the pinata of music and music blogs or platforms. I'm going to be honest. I think Vlad, I don't know who's on this list. He's definitely top 10. His platform is probably 1 or 2, right? To me, his platform is definitely top 3. Vlad as a personality, Vlad went from being behind the camera, he was just a voice, only asking questions. You ever see when me and Vlad do interviews now? Nigga, Vlad talk for half the time. It ain't also about asking, it's about telling. Vlad is telling a story about how he almost clapped the nigga. Yo, Vlad is now a personality. And I think that has become increasingly the thing because he started realizing like people like Vlad TV interviews because they like you. And I don't think he thought that at first. I think he just felt he was the person asking the questions. And I think he realized it once he started plugging other people in. They're like, nah, we want Vlad. And I think because of that, he started giving more of himself. He started sitting on camera more. He started doing other interviews on other people's platforms, showing his face. He's done off the record a bunch of times. I think that was like super important. So Vlad being number 9, I definitely think he's top 10. Number 9, I got to see who's before him. Somebody said Vlad should be top 5. Shit, I'm agreeing. But I'm not gonna be like, oh, Vlad got to jump over this person. But I think Vlad should be higher. But here we go. Elliott Wilson. We got my man Elliott Wilson at number 8. This is I kind of look at him as like this is the greatest hip hop journalist / personalities of all time. He's on a short list to me. Our history connect when Everyday Struggle started. Apparently, he was supposed to do the show with Joe Budden. And when I got the contract, Elliott Wilson's name was still on the contract. When they sent me the contract, Elliott Wilson's name was still on the contract. And they had to send it back, and they put my name, obviously. But, yeah, this is the guy who just had some of the most legendary interviews we've seen. Like, for example, he has a bunch of Jay-Z interviews that I go back to from time to time. They ask great questions. And I think you got to salute to B-Dot as well, because sometimes they're a duo. That last Drake interview that was in 2018 or whatever it was, right? Was it 2018? Elliott Wilson. I think he's had some of the biggest moments. Do we go to him for the hottest take? No, right? But is he someone who's facilitated some of the biggest conversations? You got to say yes. He just did one with YoungBoy. You know what I mean? So again, we've seen him like interview from Jay-Z to Drake to YoungBoy, like, clearly young, old, average, whatever age bracket you want to talk about, they all respect him. And I think definitely he's a force to be reckoned with. Absolutely. Number 7, Carisha. Again, all bullshit aside, and, I'm trying not to, there's no personal biases trying to seep in. I'm always a little, I don't get this. I believe Carisha Please, her show, is a top 10 show. 100%. I give her show credit. But as a personality, I think it takes more than you just having one show and one look and like 8 episodes for you to really be on a list like this. Like Carisha doesn't have a hip hop opinion. Name one opinion that she's ever given. Also, half the guests on her show, the majority of it they're not even talking about hip hop. You like get peed on? You like your ass getting, that's what they talk about. Over some DeLeon. So I would have said, not really. But is her show really successful? Yes. But I don't know. I wouldn't put her number 7. If we're going to consider in that realm. Kai Cenat. Now, the first conversation should be had is Kai Cenat qualified to be on this list? Right? Now, let me give you the arguments for no. Well, Kai Cenat is a streamer like anyone else who likes music and like hip-hop, but is he having that impact, or is he doing what, like if you look at the other people on the list are doing, is he doing that, or maybe his reach is so big that you just have to throw him in the category, right? So I guess that would be the argument for no. The argument for yes would be, well, look at some of the big moments he had. 21 Savage, Lil Baby, shit. He got G Herbo. Like, he's had a lot of like moments with people who are rappers, like whether from Dirk. Also, shit, some of his opinions about music have gone viral. Like, he was talking about Lil Baby giving Trippie Redd like a mid-verse, and he was just like, what the fuck is this? That was very viral. Me, I wouldn't have had Kai on this list. And it would have been out of respect to the other people on the list, because I think Kai, while I think he has the biggest audience out of anybody on this list, I don't think he sees himself as a hip-hop media personality. He's definitely, I've called him, he's a Kanye of streaming, period. He's a Kanye of streaming. But to put him on this list, And obviously, if you put him on this list, you got to put him up high. So I guess he's going to be on this here. Nori. Nori's, now we get to the top 5. Nori's definitely a top 5er. You got to put Nori top 5. Nori is hip-hop. Nori's the epitome of hip-hop. Nori through Drink Champs, but also, getting certain type of cultural and conversation pieces out of legends. It's been historic. He's been the stop for some people like Ye. That interview alone shook up the whole fucking place. Nori definitely deserves. He's definitely top 5. Like, again, I'm gonna try to be. I'll be more objective, or I'll be a little bit more. I'll give opinions on these. If I see somebody not worthy of being in the top 5, I'll tell y'all. But Nori gotta be in the top 5. Gotta be in the top 5. Gilly and Wallow. I'm glad that they did this, because here's the thing. Gilly, he's one personality type. Then Wallow is another personality type. But you got to put them together, not only to save a little space for other motherfuckers, but they kind of are, they play off each other a lot. And not to say if they weren't together, they wouldn't be on this list, but I do believe that them being together is where a lot of the impact is. You get what I mean? So obviously they have a podcast called $1 Million Worth of Game. I kid you not, I got to give them credit. Bro, I don't know how old they are, but every single day, Gilly uploads like 3 whole videos on Instagram with like either skits, some funny shit. Bro, they make more content than kids, which is good because their content is always relevant to the people. They're not doing just goofy shit. Their content's always relevant to the people and the audience and the culture or the streets that they are talking to every week. I've watched them rides with the $1 Million Worth of Game brand, and to kid you not, in the last couple years, some people could argue that for a list of interviews from a list of people, they're the number 1 place to go. I like them as a duo, and I wish them nothing but success. They gotta be in the top 5, right? Then we get to the man. I was surprised Charlamagne wasn't number 1. I've debated this with people. People think I'm sucking dick. Pause. But you know what it is? I have a lot of admiration for Charlamagne. And let me explain what y'all might think is dick sucking. And again, we know this is the power ranking. So, someone said to me, yo, Ak, why do you think Charlamagne should be even that high up? He ain't the same since he got on this mental health stuff, da-da-da-da-da-da. And obviously, we all remember when Charlamagne used to be lighting shit on fire every day, just clowning people, this and third. Charlamagne has evolved, he has grown, and he's been expressing and showing different sides of him. Why should he be in the top 5? Definitely for me. Not only is he the... okay, let me just start off with this. Y'all gonna be like, yo, this is wild dick sucking. Charlamagne, I believe, is the most talented nigga on this whole list. And I'm on the list. Okay? I think he's the most talented. Number 1. Number 2. Peak Charlamagne, I think might be the most entertaining too. 3. I think he fits the bill more than everybody else on this entire list for every piece of what you would consider the personality. I molded what my career as a personality could be off of watching the things that he did. These days, what is he doing? Still the anchor, still lead mic, Breakfast Club. Breakfast Club still thriving. He's expanded. And what I think he's doing, and some people are shitting on him, but I like it. It's like, imagine if I did Warren Chirac for 25 years. You want to see me grow, right? He's getting into politics. He's doing other formats. Even if he's not doing it to your liking at the moment, what I think he's doing, he's opening and expanding the ceiling for a black media hip-hop personality. It's just like when Wendy Williams went to network TV, all of these people who were just seen as personalities, especially black personalities, now said, oh shit, we could go be on talk radio at some point. Now, obviously, podcasts came in and not fucked it up, but like changed the game around. But also, Charlemagne has the Black Effect Podcast Network, which is pretty much a thriving podcast network that he is leading. I look at him as Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan on the Wizards. And I'm not talking about ability. I think he's in that position of being like an owner and a CEO and executive, but also he still get busy. Brilliant idiots, he be giving up at times, okay? when it's some topics he could really fuck with. Also, I think that, Charlemagne was popping at a time that before the woke culture came, if Charlemagne kept doing the same things, they were going to use those things as a noose to hang him. So he had to chill out a bit, like kind of whatever to keep elevating. Yeah. So, again, I think Charlemagne is bigger than this list. I think he's the number one. I think he's the best one on this list, period. And pretty much the only actually Big Boy's a radio legend and also Sway, but he's number one, really, to me, personally. Now, in terms of popularity and power rankings, I understand why they put him third. Okay? And damn, that probably felt like so much dick sucking, on it? I don't know, man. Like, I'm always, I'm very complimentary of him. Number 2, they got your boy on this, people. They got your boy on this. They got your boy on this shit. Damn. When Joe showed up to my studio, I think it was after he did his interview with Complex. I guess they told him he was number 1. And he showed up to my studio and we did a podcast and he said, Ak, they got the list. And I said, yo, Joe, what number am I? What number am I? And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm used to getting slighted so much. And I'm cool with that. Like, I'm not the guy who's friends with the most amount of people. I've maybe cussed out a few people along my journey. I felt like I've had to go get it on my own. So because of that, I don't expect nobody to even give me accolades. You've seen how like even the BET Hip Hop Awards does when they're talking about platforms. They act like we don't exist. I've always just felt like shysted on all type of levels. So for me, I was going to feel, and I was going to be mad at Complex if they didn't give me top 10. But if they gave me 9, I wasn't going to trip because I'm like, niggas don't like me, bro. People just don't like me. And it's one of those things where, I kept telling you about that conversation that this person had with me, and they were like, yo, Ak, there's so many people who dislike you that you don't even know how much stuff you're missing out on because the mere mention of your name among some of these industry people, they fucking lose it. That's why your name ain't on certain invites. Your name ain't on certain acknowledgments. Niggas hate you, my nigga. Like, the fans might love you. The people love you. And I remember saying to the person, I said, it's cool. I got one of the biggest audiences. I am fine. And the person said to me, well, you're fine now, but you're going to get to a point that you're going to be like, man, I kind of want to be acknowledged. And you're going to look for the reason why you're not being acknowledged. And it's because they hate you. And I'm shocked when I see this. Obviously, I worked at Complex. So I want to graciously thank everybody who believes I'm number 2. Do I believe I'm number 2? I do. I feel like I had a really successful year. I went for it. And when I mean I went for it, man, I held no punches. I said everything that I felt. I was wrong on a bunch of stuff. I took my W's. I took my L's. I was being honest. And the era of media personalities I liked weren't just the ones who were just talking to talk, but they were giving their opinion and they stood by it. They weren't scared of other media entities. They weren't scared of labels. And these days, I feel like everybody's they're protecting relationships. certain people get in trouble, or certain people becomes a topic of discussion. Nobody wants to talk about it because everybody's cool with that person. And I ain't gonna lie, man, this year again, which I liked. I signed a deal with Spotify, and I started doing the podcast. But when I left Everyday Struggle back in 2020, December 2020, I said to myself, Ak, you got to be able to shoot like you from the crib again, like you always do. When I was working at Complex, I gave y'all a joke. I said something about SZA. Everybody was freaking up. They're like, yo, TDE might not give us interviews. And it's political a bit. And I felt like, damn, why can't, I want to be me. And ever since I've left Everyday Struggle, and, just me being on Off the Record and me getting into my streaming bag, I give my real opinion, man. Like, y'all could call my phone afterwards or during, but I give my real opinion. And that's the only way I could win. You know what I mean? And sometimes I go against the grain, and sometimes I'm the person who's saying the thing that nobody wants to say, but they know they really wanted to say it. So, I take the highs and lows with it. I'll read this. Timely rap the base, Twitch rants, controversies, beefs. I've definitely just not held my tongue with rappers, clearly. If you're even vaguely interested in rap and spend any amount of time off Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube these days, you'll see DJ Akademiks' name or face at least a few times a day. Really? Whether you like it or not. He's an extremely polarizing figure who has an army of skeptics, many of whom bring up valid points of concerns about ethics behind his content in person. Still, he's relentless, and his high-volume strategy reaches a massive audience. With dozens of posts a day, his Instagram and Twitter feed have become a go-to source for rap news, and his marathon Twitch streams, often going for 4 hours at a time, are largely viewed by the legions of diehard followers. They should just say, the motherfucking chat niggas. I love y'all. He has an innate ability to talk and rant about rap for hours in a row without letting up. And each stream invariably produces a handful of viral moments, whether an A-list rapper calls in without notice or he falls asleep during a late-night Drake album listening session. Naturally, he's cashing on the buzz with some major deals. Off the Record with DJ Akademiks' exclusive show on Spotify routinely tops the podcast charts, attracting guests like 21 Savage, Youngboy, Rod Wave. Whether he's breaking out insider information on a late-night Twitch stream, inserting himself into a rap beef, or posting about breaking news before anyone else, he's omnipresent. There are legitimate concerns to be had about the real world consequences of his more sensationalist content, including the coverage of violence in Chicago's rap scene and the Tory Lanez trial. On a list of assessing the power and influence of hip-hop personalities right now, however, Akademiks is undeniably near the top. For better or for worse, he is one of the most relevant and controversial voice in hip-hop media today. I think that was well written, and thank you to whoever wrote that. I think everything you said was fair. I don't think I stand for anything bad, but I think for people who are used to a certain type of controlled hip-hop media and coverage, I only represent the future. I only represent the kid right now who's in their room, the back of their car, on their lunch break, recording into their phone, who has an opinion, who has some type of contribution to the conversation, to the culture, and that is scary. I think that's more scary than what people think about me. I don't think I'm a bad person, but anything that's uncontrolled, anything that doesn't fit neatly into boxes, anything that could do anything, you're going to be controversial, you're going to be polarizing, and you're going to have those questions about, is this a good thing? There was a time people were asking, is the internet a good thing? Well, people could do anything with it. Any new technology, any new discovery, anything new, there's always going to be the question of, well, yeah, he brings us great commentary and quick news on these levels, but is he fanning the fire of beef over here? Is he an antagonist? Is he an instigator? It's always going to be the case. So I think that was fair. These days, I don't expect people to write about me like I'm an angel. But I always say, I'm the first of many to come. I'm the first of many to come. I'm also very, very excited and very honored to be on this list. And if you look on this list, it's the people, as I said, I'm honored. I'm like incredibly honored to be on a list with a guy who has mentored me, Charlemagne. But to be on it with a lot of dudes who, they're the people I used to give commentary on. They're the people who were the players on the court, from the Joe Buddens to the Math Hoffas to the Noriegas, Gillian Wallow, or Gilly specifically, him being a rapper. So to be on a list with Angie Martinez, Big Boy, Sway, that level of journalist, then the Nardwars, then those level of personalities like Charlemagne, and then other people who are now mega personalities, but they played the game in the sense of, they were the players on the court in terms of rappers, Joe Budden and others. Very, very humbled and honored. But number one goes to the man. Someone who I had, it feels like a blur to this day when I worked with him, but Joe Budden is number one. Well-deserving. Joe Budden's a content genius, entertainer at his true core. His personality could probably be described by a therapist as some type of disorder, but is always enjoyed or possibly ridiculed sometimes by audience as pure entertainment. A guy who I still, to this day, I'm like, this guy could create 10 championship teams and each and every time leave the championship team to go make another one. That's LeBron-esque. Where you go, you bring the franchise. I think he's that I think he's he knows how to pick talent. I always give you the story of when we did Everyday Struggle. It was kind of like a really like audition, but it was like a read through. You stopped at 5 minutes in and he says, ask the guy. Let's start on Monday. And I didn't know what the fuck was going on because I only came to debate. That's all I knew. But he's seen enough. He saw the true, he knew what to pick, what personality traits to look at for me to say, cool, if he does that, I know how I'm going to react. And I know how the people going to look at it. That's fucking good content. That's a GM, people. That's somebody who know how to pick talent. That's good. To be a good GM and also to be the star, you really get that. Look at my boy LeBron. He got all the talent in the world, but you let him make the picks. He's bringing in Carmelo Anthony and Russell Westbrook, okay? Joe is the guy. His media career really has spanned longer than people have thought. It didn't only just start with the Joe Budden podcast. I remember being in high school, listening to radio through a radio that was in a room that I shared at the time with my brother. And I remember when Joe took over and he was on the radio and he was like, and I was like, yo, why is this rapper doing the morning show? Because we knew him as Pump It Up guy. But he was engaging back then. It wasn't for that long because he left. We didn't know why. Apparently that was a different time in just music and culture where people didn't think both could exist. Now we see the musicians wanting to also have their personality shown on a podcast or talk forums. We largely got to give a lot of credit to Joe. Someone who, even in working with him and those tumultuous times, I learned a lot from him. I learned, number one, how to navigate, but also how not to navigate. I learned how to realize that you have nothing if you need the guest to validate you. And it was crystallized even by how the whole thing with the Migos thing happened. With him, he was like, I was like, shit's the Migos. I love them. He was like, man, fuck these niggas. They coming in here twisting up their face. Ain't trying to dap me up. Fuck them. I think he's found his footing after leaving Spotify. He did his network thing for a while. But in the last year, ain't no podcast shoot like Joe Budden podcast. Like, he's giving it back up again. And when Joe Budden's back on his hot take, not giving a fuck about the industry, he has one of the most powerful voices that goes and carries throughout many age demographics and many generations that, again, to me, easily number one right now, clearly. So, I like the list. We could make some more changes. Put Vlad up a little bit higher. I'm not going to say put nobody lower. Carisha, with all due respect to her, like, you know, I would definitely have her really high on a power list for women personalities in music. Not necessarily hip hop. She's definitely, you know, doing her thing, but I don't know about it. Okay. I think we're good. Started off with this. Y'all good?